It's easy for you to wonder how somebody can go from being a fat mess to receiving a message like this from one of the top coaches in the world. Well, it's mainly because of 5 big mistakes I made, so you don't have to, and you can go straight into losing 20 kilo in 3 months, or getting rid of your man boobs once and for all. Most of you will train or will have trained for 3, 5, 7, maybe even more years before you actually get into what we could call undeniably good shape. I've coached over 100 people, everyone from general population, rugby players, high-level powerlifters, every Jim, Joe and Janet you can think of. In that time, I have noticed a very strange pattern. Everybody who actually ends up getting into very good shape is making one fundamental mistake. And you might be taken aback when you hear this, but it is going to the gym. Yes, really. I will give you the context. In these 5 main lessons, I suppose, are an umbrella under the problem of going to the gym. And I appreciate many of you watching this are probably doing so during your food and YouTube time, so I will condense this video so you can digest it and apply it. But after working with such a huge plethora of people and making these mistakes myself, I can definitely confirm that if you actually listen to this, apply to your own situation, process it, you will see more return on your investment of time, effort, energy in 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter time period than you did in the previous 3, 5, 7, maybe more years of training. And I actually think, no, I know that this is the case because many of you don't lack effort, consistency, and you probably aren't lazy. You're just making these mistakes. So let's get straight into it. The first lesson is going to be what I call the Bowden fallacy. I had a really good friend in school, still am mates with him to this day. Shout out Bodie. His surname was Bowden. Anyway, we had very conflicting views on the gym towards the end of school. It almost formed a dichotomy where he used to be fat, then he got skinny. I had got fat, and he was in the very much of like the 90s toning, high reps, low weight mentality. I was very heavy metal lifting, the power lifts, yeah, just eating what I want, blah blah blah, like very meathead gym bro mentality. But we both went to the gym. He had no muscle. I had some muscle, but I was fat. And his point was always like, what's the point of training if you don't look like it? Which is a trap I know many of you have fallen into. And it leads me, if you disagreed with what I just said about you, this leads me into the next point. Well, not the next point, but the point of the Bowden fallacy. The Bowden fallacy is that of denial. So my comeback to Oliver, I just liked his name, sorry. Still a goat though. Doesn't matter, we're both in good shape now. Lessons, because we learned our lessons, you see. The Bowden fallacy is denial. Where you can't accept that you are not in shape. If you're buying those, those Nike Tech tops and you see this line here, you're always wearing hoodies to cover your man boobs, you're sucking in photos, you're not in shape, you're probably fat. If on any given day you cannot take your top off, no pump, no lighting, nothing, and people look at you, if people were to look at you in that situation and not be able to tell that you lift, not that you need to be massively jacked or really, really lean or nothing, but if they can't see some form of muscular development or some condition, then you're not in shape. And most of you cannot accept this, and if you cannot accept this stage, don't even watch the rest of this video. Because, again, this is the best litmus test to find out if you're in shape or not. If you walk up to a random person on the street, took your top off, and they saw you with no lighting, no pump, would they be able to say, yep, that person lifts, or that person goes to the gym, or that person's just in good shape? If not, don't watch the rest of the video. Well, do watch the rest of the video, but if you can't accept that that's the case, don't watch the rest of the video because you're too arrogant to accept it. Because I know I was. And getting over this initial hurdle will unlock so many doors for you. And so many guys make this mistake and they never get in shape because of it, because they don't have that I need to get my shit together moment. Second lesson is do not treat dieting like a football game. What does this mean? Do you ever hear those people who blab on about, oh yeah, well, we had more, when their team loses, by the way, we had more possession, we had more chances, the referee wasn't on our side, blah, blah, blah. If you don't score more goals than the other team, it doesn't matter. You lost the game, right? I used to view dieting that way, and it's not that simple. When we think of tracking calories, eating better, and so on, what do people think about as a whole? Calories and protein. That's it. We know, first and foremost, that most people eat far too much protein. Okay, you only really need about 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. In some contexts, this may be higher, some contexts, this may be lower, but anyway, that's a good rule of thumb to start at. Yes, it is objectively true that if you're in a calorie deficit, you will lose weight. If you're in a calorie surplus, you will gain weight. That's a whole different video. The point being, there's more to it. Gut health, carb timing, I'd say would be the main ones. Food organization, prep is another. But so many people just eat food that they cannot accept, or their body cannot accept and break down. You can't use it. If you can't break it down, you can't digest it, right? So when we eat our carbs matters. The type of carbs we eat matters. The type of, or the way your fiber is prepared changes how we can digest it. How much fiber is in your pre-workout meal, what your pre-workout is meal, what's in that meal, and so on. Like bringing your fats up when you're dieting, or starting in a really aggressive deficit and slowly building your food back up towards the end, and your insulin sensitivity being better at this stage, so you use those carbs better, and your bowel movements being consistent, knowing what types of protein to eat at what stage in the day. Like all these small keys open big doors, and it really, really matters. So we need to start acting like it. So the overall point here being, just because you track your calories and hit your protein goals does not mean you're going to get in good shape. You see the people who actually get in really, really good shape, we start looking at the 1%ers, you know? So I was always really big on everything was just dairy. And I would just have the shits. I actually think I went for a good 7 years without doing a solid poo. I actually had to get a camera shoved up my arse, fun fact, to find out that I didn't have anything more sinister going on there. That's all because of poor food choices. But that's all handled. But by the way, if you're watching this and you're thinking, I shit myself all the time, I fart all the time, my stools aren't solid, I don't actually know what types of food to eat and why. If you want to learn, there is a link to the White Monster Wire. As you can probably tell, I'm a big White Monster fan, where I will teach you all of this stuff. Or you can just work with me and accelerate the fact that if you go onto the White Monster Wire, you're probably going to realize that there's more to this shit than what you know. Our third lesson is the day pass mentality. What I mean by this, you know when you go with for a session with your mate and the equipment's different, you're trying out all this new kit, you slightly go off structure because you're with your friend, you just want a fun workout, and you do a random workout, you just get it done. Like that's great. Some good memories to be unlocked there for sure. But a lot of people apply this day pass mentality to their training. They just go in, I think I'll hit arms today, I think I'll hit legs today. Random rep range, they don't write anything down, they don't time the rest between sets, they don't track their intensity, they're not videoing their sets. All of these elements of training that piece together the puzzle, I suppose the jigsaw that is the human body and mind, the most complicated machines on the planet, training it to grow more muscle, essentially. They just ignore it, right? So the exercise, you start with how you do it, why you do it, what plane of motion it's in. Is it single armed? Is it single leg? Is our sternum down? Are we crunched down too much on one side? Is our range slightly limited? Are we compensating through other parts of the body? Like, what rep range are we working in? Like, these are all things that matter. Not so much for people who are just starting out, but if you've been training for, honestly, if you're at the stage where you're starting to go to the gym regularly, essentially, you're not sitting on the treadmill anymore for 25 minutes. If you're not tracking your rest times between exercises, not tracking what weights used, what reps you got, trying to figure out how to do your exercises better week upon week instead of just trying to add more weight, you are missing out. And I did this for so long, just like, oh yeah, just train hard and, you know, do more volume, it'll work. It's not going to change, especially the more you train, right? To get a meaningful adaptation, we need a meaningful challenge, okay? Like, if we have a 10 kilo newborn calf's definitely heavier than that. It doesn't take a lot of effort to move it, right? A push will probably do hard push. But if we have a well-developed, well-grown bull that weighs a ton or more, it's going to be pretty damn hard to move it. We're going to need more effort, more thought into it. Okay, so do not fall into the day pass mentality of trying to guess your way to the physique you want, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're not going to do it by winging it. A good saying is, why can't I speak? That does make grammatical sense. Anyway, I'm yapping. I like the saying, physiques don't lie, because it's true. If we see an underdeveloped muscle group, we know it's either a technique issue or a movement restriction issue, which you're not going to be able to identify unless you have 0.5 in check, which I'll get onto. Your worst workouts are your most important workouts. I used to have this thing in my head where if I got below 7 hours sleep, I wouldn't go to the gym. If I didn't have my food nailed down, I wouldn't go to the gym. And by the way, during all of this, I was still eating too much food and fat and didn't look like I trained anyway. So, you know, people worry about the 1% and miss, or the better saying is they miss the forest for the tree. Or is it miss the tree for the forest? I don't know. Forest for the tree. That makes more sense. If you can get the box ticked, even when you feel tired, even when you're hungry, even when things haven't gone to plan, even when you're stressed, even when you're in a rush, yes, you're not going to be operating at your best. You might be slightly weaker. You won't be able to get as much of out of the workout. You might have to modify it. You might have to start with more of a warm-up. You might have to do less sets, work at less intensity, but just getting it done, just getting the needle moving forward is massive, because then that translates to outside of the gym, where even if you're stressed and things are up in smoke, maybe even getting 2 meals prepped instead of your usual 5, or just getting one good meal in, or just getting back on the ball the next day. So say you went over your calories, you caved, whatever, during a deficit, or you went out and drank and got bloated. Getting on the ball the next day, this all feeds and is all into each other and is all intertwined, because we need to be bigger on imperfect action. People want everything to be set right. Yeah, I'll start going to that PT or whatever when I've got this amount of money, when I've got this in check, when I achieve this, when I've got whatever external in the place I want it to be. But you are an adult, probably, if you're watching this video. That's not how life works. I always say to my guys, coaching is the game of making things work despite constant inconveniences. Being an adult is just inconvenience, isn't it? Oh yeah, I finally got this done. I finally got the money set aside for this, and then your car informs you that you owe it £850, and then you can't get anywhere. Yeah, but that's the main point. Don't ignore everything else just for one minor detail. Oh, my sleep wasn't great. So you can alter your workout. Your performance actually might not be affected that much, especially in some of the research we're seeing today. You might get sorry if you can hear that outside, it's really annoying. But just getting the box ticked is one of the most important things you can do. Small steps are better than no steps, and the analogy I like is, imagine you have a rock above a waterfall, or just floating above the rain. one droplet, if one droplet keeps falling onto it, if a droplet falls onto it, nothing's going to happen. But if a droplet keeps falling onto it thousands and thousands and thousands of times, no matter how small the droplets are, eventually the rock will erode. Okay, use your brain to understand that analogy, because I just yap too much. That's a skill I need to work on. You know, we're still working on things. We're still human, but that's definitely another big lesson. Now, the most important lesson of all. Oh my word, the hamster wheel and the wall. For those of you that do not have coaches, you are like a hamster in a hamster wheel that's just spinning in front of a wall. Stuck on a wall, keeps hitting against it. You think you know where you're going, you think you know what you're doing, but you don't have the second eye and the second sort of bird's eye view, if you like, to realise that you don't need to keep going forward. We just need to move the hamster wheel to the left slightly where the doors open and you can go through the passage. I've worked with 4 coaches. 4. Pierce, Ben, Dean, now working with Declan. Shout out to everyone. What I have learned from coaching has been the difference between me being the guy you saw in the first photo, fat, lazy, broke, etc., to in respectable shape, starting to get somewhere with my business, right? I'm not rich, but I can have a coffee any day of the week without thinking about it, and I came back from a holiday there and I booked my next one straight away, right? So reason to be happy. I'm fully booked PT. I'm going on full rent, so I'll be fully independent from next month. Like, there are things that I have achieved there because of my education, and a lot of that, don't let anybody tell you otherwise, is because I've got in good shape. All personal trainers don't need to be in shape. Yes, we do. Shut up. How can you tell people to do something if you can't do it yourself? If I walk into a property or a mortgage advisor and you're homeless, I'm not listening to you, man. You know? My point being is, this is genuinely the case. People, they know how to train. Right, cool. Why don't you look like you lift? You know, they'll train for years and years and years, and just the guy that starts the gym, gets coached for 6 months, sees a bigger change in the 6 months. That's why I mentioned that at the start, than the other person has in 6 years. And they're like, coaching. There's more to it than you think. How do you manage pain? How do you manage injuries? How do you manage external stressors? How do you manage sleep? Where's your second opinion to look at all these things? A second eye to spot the bad habits, to have an impartial view on what's actually causing your gut issues, your pain, and why you're not progressing on an exercise, why the muscle grip you're looking at isn't developing, and that you can pay someone whose literal job is to look at every single piece of data that surrounds your life and make informed decisions based off of that to get you in shape. If you ever played an Xbox game or a PlayStation game, remember the kid who was rich and had the money to buy all the DLCs, and it was pay to win. That's what coaching is. It's pay to win. Okay? And if you are going for a coach, 2 biggest pieces of advice: like them, make sure you like them, and make sure they have proof. Okay? Price, it doesn't matter. Buy nice or buy twice. Quick story. When I was 18, when I was 18, and I was 18, I had my first car, Seat Ibiza. Great car. Best car I ever had. Most reliable car. I was like, no, I want something faster. So instead of saving up for something nice, I got the cheapest BM I could find. And long story short, it was fun. But I had to go back up I bought it at a place that's just an hour and a half away from my house, and had to go back up there 6 times. And nobody could ever fix it, because I tried to take the short way. So in this game, make no mistake, you get what you pay for. Your health is not worth discounting, okay? And if somebody is willing to discount their price, big red flag. But the reality is, they are the 5 biggest lessons I've learned, and I don't want you to make them. I do want you to get in shape. If you have watched this video and you are thinking, you know, he makes a point. I've been training for years, but I don't actually look how I lift. If you've watched this video and you are thinking, you know, he has a good point. I've been training for years, but I don't actually look like I lift. my shoulder hurts all the time, fart all the time. I don't actually think what I'm putting in my body is helping me. You just generally like to look better and know that you're ready to stop denying, but stop lying to yourself essentially, because you know you're not in the shape you could be. You're not in the shape you deserve, given how much time, effort, and energy you have invested into the gym. There is a link below, as I said, which will allow you to apply for one-on-one coaching with me. I've just built out some pretty sick systems that are the product of all I've learned from the coaches and mentors and courses I've done, so on. I'm really excited about. But yeah, I help people get in shape. I've been there. I know what it's like. If that's something you want to do, you know where to find me. Link is in the bio. But yeah, going to the gym is your biggest mistake, because going to the gym will not get you in shape. There's more to it than just putting your pin into a turnstile and lifting a few weights.